Hello everybody, and welcome back to another exciting and informational video on My Beat Goes On. As always, my name is Chris and I'll be your host for this episode today. And today we are continuing our series of the stages of heart failure. And today we have congestive heart failure stage C. This is probably one of the more common stages that you're going to see out there. This is when the symptoms start up, as you're going to see. And this is pretty much the one everybody identifies and is kind of, for lack of a better term, the gold standard of what congestive heart failure is. So for stage C, for diagnosis, you have to actively have symptoms of CHF for the first time or have a history of CHF symptoms, even if you don't have them now. Which means as long as you've had symptoms in the past, you probably will or have been diagnosed by a physician as stage C. Treatments will help to alleviate symptoms. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go away completely, but in stage C, symptoms are controllable through various medications, exercise, and diet, stuff like that. Symptoms even may resolve, but when they do, you still stay in stage C. If you have watched the other two videos, you'll know that stage A is the only one that's technically reversible. So once you hit stage C and you're diagnosed with it, you're kind of stuck there. I'm assuming until you get a transplant, then I'm assuming everything changes. I haven't looked into it completely yet, but I'm assuming that's how it works. And this has to be diagnosed by a doctor. You can't just have your legs swell up and then automatically say you're stage C, because it may not be stage C, it may just be something else, so you have to have a doctor's diagnosis. Common symptoms of stage C. These are some of the classics. The first one is one that everybody is probably familiar with, which is fluid retention resulting in edema or swelling that happens in either your legs, ankles, feet, and or abdomen, and potentially other places, but these are the main ones that it happens. Fatigue is a big symptom of stage C. Decreased exercise tolerance, shortness of breath, increased nighttime urination, which is a lot of the times a result from when you lay down. It makes it easier for your blood flow to go from your legs back to your heart. In turn, everything starts working a little better, more fluids go in your kidneys, you pee more. So those are some of the main symptoms. Stage C, the treatments. They're going to be the same as any ones that were given in stage A or B, with the potential of diet and exercise modifications. You might have some medication modifications, but essentially stage A and stage B, whatever you had there, is probably going to carry over into this one. You might get additional medications as needed for blood pressure, heart efficiency, control of your heart rate, stuff like that with your heart. Heart efficiency, that'd be something like a beta blocker that helps your heart beat more efficiently. So when we talk about that, it just decreases the workload on the heart. If you haven't yet, you'll probably get prescribed a diuretic, which a lot of people just call water pill. And that's if you're going to have fluid retention. These can be either a prescribed medication that you'll take maybe once or twice daily, or one that's PRN, which is just medical term for as needed, which means you may not need it for 2 or 3 weeks. You may go have a big old salty dinner, and then your legs swell, and you might need to take these for a day or two. So that'd be like what as needed is. You'll probably be put on some form of sodium and fluid restriction. These need to be prescribed by your doctor. If they haven't, you haven't had swelling, or you have had swelling, you have some fluid retention. A good rule of thumb to go by is sodium is, at least to start, don't do any added salt. Stay away from salty foods. Try to keep your salt at maybe 1.5 grams or 1,500 milligrams. Keep it at that or less. Fluid restrictions. If you don't have anything from a doctor, maybe put yourself at like 2 liters a day, which is a common amount. Maybe 1.5 liters, which is a little bit, in my opinion, it's kind of low if you don't need it. But you can start yourself off at those numbers until you can get a hold of your doctor. But if your doctor has given you lower numbers than that, then you need to follow that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying if you do have these symptoms, if you can't get a hold of your doctor right away or they don't call you back, these are just some numbers to start at, and then you can alter them how you need to for how your body reacts until you can get a hold of your doctor. So like I said, these are prescribed through your doctor. If they don't prescribe them, always ask, what's a good number to shoot for? If you don't need fluid restrictions, you still want to just maybe drink when you're only thirsty. Don't do any like bored drinking or think about how, I can't drink so much, so now I'm super thirsty. Kind of like, when a smoker goes into work and they can't smoke, all of a sudden they want a cigarette just because they can't have it. So try not to fall into that trap with fluid restrictions, but, just make sure you ask what they are. And also, you're going to want to do daily weights. If you don't know what daily weights are, we're going to explain it to you. Daily weights, they're extremely important to do it properly because the numbers you get off of it are going to be important as to how you react, as in taking medicine, going to the doctor, going to the ER, anything like that. So first thing you want to do is always use the same scale. You're probably going to be doing this at home, so that's not an issue, but just in case, same scale. You always want to do it right after you wake up from your normal nighttime sleep, or if you're a nighttime worker like I am, you'd want to do it, mid-afternoon whenever you wake up for your normal long rest period. You want to use the bathroom first. Kind of self-explanatory, so I'm not going to go into any more of that. But use the bathroom first. Do not eat or drink anything before weighing yourself, even if you're hungry or thirsty. It only takes a few seconds. So weigh yourself first. And this is considered your dry weight, which is where your bladder's empty. You haven't drank anything. You're considered kind of dry. You want this to fluctuate minimally each day. Your doctor will give you limits. It's probably going to be something maybe 1 to 3 pounds a day. You don't want to fluctuate any more than that. But you want to keep a record, and I suggest doing it on a small personal calendar for reference. This way you can write it under each day. And if maybe you thought about how you went out to a friend's house and you had a couple hot dogs, and the next day you weigh a few pounds more, your doctor will be like, all right, you're eating too much sodium, too much junk food, and it won't necessarily maybe be so much a heart thing as it is a diet thing. So keep it on a calendar. That way you can keep notes, and it's easier to keep it by day and just kind of use it for reference. That way you don't have to worry about relying on your memory. Because if you guys are like me, I'd probably forget what I weighed yesterday, so it wouldn't do any good if I can't compare day to day or during the whole week. So in this stage, you definitely, if you haven't yet, you need to focus on taking care of yourself. Right now, you've entered a critical point in heart failure where you obviously can't go backwards in it. You may get better, your ejection fraction may get better, but you're still stage C. We want all these things to happen. Even if you stay diagnosed stage C, it's definitely more about how you feel and how your body is than the actual stage you're diagnosed. So take care of yourself here. It's a critical point. The only thing left after this is stage D, which is sometimes called end-stage heart failure. So you definitely want to stay away from that if you can. If you can't, that's okay too. Now, next episode, we'll get into that type of stuff, what your options are. But you want to try to be able to stay away from this. Do everything you can to be healthy. Right now, you are in a critical fight for your life. So if you care about living longer and being around for your family and friends, or just being around for yourself, this is the time to do everything you can. One of the main things you can do is research your condition as much as possible. This podcast, or this YouTube channel and soon to be podcast, is going to be a very good reference, but it's only the tip of the iceberg. There are so many studies, references, blogs, all types of stuff out there. Stuff even in our heart failure group on Facebook that will give you some ideas on what to look at and all, what to ask your doctor and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you're researching as much as possible, because the more you know, the better you can combat this. You definitely want to make necessary diet changes and exercise changes as you're allowed to by your physician. If you can exercise, then I say exercise. There's no reason not to. Even if you're kind of tired, I say listen to your body, maybe don't push yourself as much, but still get out there and do something, because something is better than nothing, especially when you're fighting for your life. You want to find positive support in your family, friends, and in groups, either online or in person. These are great ways to have people by your side, let you know it's okay if you're having a bad day, and encourage you to have a better day the next day. These are very important things when it comes to, trying to take care of yourself and do as much self-healing as possible. And the last thing is to never give up. Even if you're going or feel like you're going into a decline, don't give up, because tomorrow's a new day. Science and medicine's always improving, so you never know what the future holds for you. So don't give up, because if you give up, you can't get better. And that's definitely not the point of this. You want to get better, so don't give up. Lastly, we have some questions to ask your doctor. These are going to be a little bit more specific. Now, you're going to notice they're a little bit more oriented towards dangers and problems you may have than the past two levels or stages, just because this one's can be a little bit more critical and can actually do a little bit more harm to you quicker and more unexpectedly than the other two stages have so far. The first one you can ask is if I'm in stage C heart failure. You might have told them some symptoms, but they might have never officially told you what stage you're in. And if they say yes, ask them how they determined it. What did you tell them, or what have they seen, so that at least you know what they're looking at and what you can look at in yourself. You want to ask them, obviously, what your diet and exercise restrictions are. Good things to know, and follow those. You want to know what your sodium or salt restriction is. You want to know what and if you have a fluid restriction. You want to know, what do I count in my total fluids? Sometimes people get confused. They don't know if certain fruits count, because watermelon's like 92% water, but it's not in liquid form, so does that count as fluids? You want to know what your doctor considers fluids, and then get a conversion table, because maybe 1 cup of watermelon just equals a half a cup of water or something like that. So see if you can get some kind of conversion table, or somewhere to go online to get some conversions that they recommend. You want to know how much weight gain or loss is acceptable from day to day or in a total week. This comes again back to your daily weights. You want to do those, write them down. This way you can have, perfect notes and comparisons on what to do and what your weight is, so that you can figure out what to do, is what I mean. Weight gain, or I guess I should put weight loss too. Should I call the doctor's office or go to the emergency department? If you find out from yesterday to today you put on 5 pounds, what do I need to do? Do I need to call you? Do I need to go to the ER? Should I take an extra water pill? These are things you want to know about your weight gains and weight losses. You want to ask, other than diuretics, what can help reduce swelling or edema quickly? Swelling and edema is one of the biggest things that can get you into trouble. It puts a lot of strain on your heart. So you want this to go down as quickly as possible. So obviously, if you have diuretics, that's going to help. But what else can you do to get that swelling down as quickly as possible? A lot of doctors might recommend wearing compression socks. There's a couple different kinds out there with what millimeters of mercury compression they are. So ask them which ones you think would be the best. There's, from what I know, 15 to 20 and 20 to 30. If you don't know, you don't want to get the wrong one, so just ask them which millimeter of mercury compression socks they would recommend. You want to know, what amount of swelling do you recommend going to the emergency department? Now, this isn't necessarily weight gain, but let's say my left leg swells to the point where I can't even put a slipper on. Should I do something about that? Is that when I need to go to the emergency department? If I feel like the swelling is giving me respiratory issues when I'm laying down but I'm sitting up, is that something I need to go to the emergency department? Know your symptoms or potential symptoms and ask them what to do. This will help you and could potentially save your life if you know ahead of time and your family knows ahead of time what exactly you need to do. You also want to ask, what other symptoms do you recommend I go to the emergency department if I'm having them? So, maybe if you're having chest pains, you don't think about that maybe because you never really had, like heart disease, heart attacks. But what if you get chest pain? Is that something to that's going to happen, or do you need to go to the emergency department? So you want to ask them about that. And if they don't give you any clear-cut answers, the best thing you can do is just go to the emergency department. The copays, especially if you live in America, they probably stink a little bit. But I'd rather pay $150 or whatever it is and be alive than have that $150 I can't spend because I'm dead. So I always say, in doubt, you know your body, you know what feels wrong. If it feels wrong, seek medical attention. Another one is, should I avoid extreme temperatures? This being hot or cold. Sometimes these can put extra stress on the heart. They can dehydrate you quicker. Or if you are taking blood thinners, cold weather could actually possibly give you frostbite quicker. And I know in the cold, sometimes it's a lot harder to breathe too. I don't know if y'all get like me, but when I breathe in the cold weather, especially if I'm doing any form of exercise, that burns and it doesn't feel good. So just ask them if there's any extreme temperatures you should avoid, what you should do if you get stuck in them, or what's some good stuff to do over the winter and over the summer just to keep yourself healthy. Another good thing to ask, especially since now you'll probably be on more than one medication. If you're like me, you're going to be on like 10 of them. So what do you do if you forget to take X medication or medications? 6 hours later, lunchtime, I realized I forgot my morning medicine. Nighttime medicine is doing 6 hours. Do I take it now and push the nighttime back a couple hours? Do I just skip it and go to the next one? This is stuff you want to know. Also, sometimes people accidentally do or think they took a double dose of their medicine. They're not paying attention, or who knows, sometimes you just can't remember if you took it. You took another one, then you think, oh crap, now I remember taking it. Ask your doctor, what do you do if I accidentally double dose on my medications? Because this is something you're going to want to know, because when it happens, you need to know how to react, and potentially need to know how to react quickly so that you don't get really sick or end up killing yourself. It's always good to know how often you're going to have tests like echo, lab work, heart catheter, stress test, stuff like that, just so you can put it on your calendar and know kind of when to look forward to certain things. You want to know, if I decline, what procedures do you have in mind in the future? And this is important because you can have an acute event where you get some severe swelling, shortness of breath. You may have something go bad real quick. You might get put, maybe, like worst case scenario, other than being dead, you might get put in like a medically induced coma, be intubated. Your family may have to make a decision, and they're not going to know what you want. And they might not even know what these procedures are. So you want to know what they are. That way you can research them, talk to your family about, if I'm unable to make a decision, this is exactly what I want you to do. Which leads to the last question I think you should ask is, how do I fill out a power of attorney or living will? When you're in stage C of heart failure, you've got stage 3 cancer, anything further along in their stages or progression, you're going to want to know about power of attorney and living wills. These are important because you want people to do for you what you want done, which sounds kind of redundant, but if people don't know what decisions you want as far as medications, intubation, being resuscitated, they might do something that you're not happy with and you didn't want, but they're not going to have a choice to make that decision for you if you don't have one of these filled out. So ask them about doing that. It's a good thing to do. I'm going to do an episode on these because I think they're really important. So look out for that. But until then, ask them about power of attorney and living will. It's something you want to get done. Everybody should have it done. It's going to put you at ease so that if something does start to go wrong, at least you know that something is going to be done the way you want it. Looks like my battery's about to die, so that is the end of this episode, thankfully. So I want to let y'all know that if you enjoyed this, you found this valuable, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications button, like, comment, all that good stuff. It helps out the channel. It helps other people find us. And if you thought this information was valuable and you do that, that means other people are going to find this valuable information. And we're going to spread the word and help people get better instead of leaving questions unanswered to where they potentially could get worse. So, as always, in the link in the description, we'll have for the Congestive Heart Failure Support Group, and we'll have for our website. So make sure you check that out. We're also going to have a podcast coming soon. I'm going to turn all these episodes into podcasts so that you can listen to them while you're, driving to work, driving to the grocery store. They'll hopefully be short 15, 20-minute episodes. So look out for that. And until then, keep on smiling, take care, and we'll see you next episode.